What if the villains we laughed at were never meant to be villains at all? You know, the big names: Joker, Magneto, Doom. But behind the panels of forgotten comic books lie stories far more tragic and far more human. Today, we're not asking what if villains had powers. We're asking what if they had no choice. Let's start with Scorcher. Stephen Hudak was a lab assistant, hard dash, working loyal, until his boss framed him for embezzlement. He lost everything: his job, his reputation, his future. So he built a flame suit, not for revenge, but because the world gave him no other way to survive. He didn't want to be feared. He just didn't want to disappear. Then there's White Rabbit. Ridiculous, right? A woman in a Wonderland outfit firing exploding carrots. But Lorena Dodson's story runs deeper. She was raised in silence, in control, in a mansion where joy was forbidden, even fast food was off. Her crimes, they weren't about money. They were screams. Screams from a woman who'd never been allowed to speak. Firebug, from DC Comics. His name doesn't even sound sad. But his story is: Joseph Rigger lost his family in multiple building accidents, cheap materials, ignored warnings. So he blamed the buildings. And then he burned them. Not to destroy, but to grieve. He wasn't a villain. He was a father looking for justice in all the wrong places. Before we continue, if you're hooked by stories like these, hit the like button and subscribe. It's the best way to let us know you want more deep, emotional dives into the side of comics nobody talks about. Alright, back to it now, comes Flamingo. Tall, stylish, psychotic, known for literally eating the faces of his victims. But behind the madness is a broken lifer, man shaped by torment so horrific that his identity was erased. He's no longer human, just pain-wearing skin. And finally, Kite Man. Yeah, Kite Man. Chuck Brown was never meant to be taken seriously. But in a modern retelling, he became something more, something tragic. He was a single dad, a brilliant engineer, just trying to bond with his son over something simple: kites. Then, during a Gotham gang war, the Riddler murdered his son by poisoning the string of the kite they made together. That goofy catchphrase, Kite Man, hell, that was the last thing his son ever said. He didn't become a villain for power. He did it to remember. These villains didn't fall, they were pushed. Broken by grief, rejected by the world, abandoned by the very heroes who were supposed to protect them. So what if we've been looking at them all wrong? What if the greatest tragedy in comics isn't who they became, but who they could have been?